Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Promo Perspectives. It is a live podcast presented by Sage, dedicated to giving promotional product suppliers and distributors tips, tricks, and insights to help them grow their businesses. I'm Gabe Gotay, Senior Marketing Coordinator here at Sage.
And I'm Anne-Marie Lugo, Senior Social Media Coordinator.
We are going to be talking today all about social media strategies. Anne-Marie was actually a guest just over a year ago on the podcast. We were talking about social media back then too. On that episode, we were joined by another frequent guest of the show, Colette Williams from PPAI, because we were talking about the PPAI Online 18. It is an annual article published by PPAI. It comes out in two parts. Each one ranks either the top 18 companies with social media performance in our industry, and the other is the top 18 individuals. We were just kind of talking about it generally last year, but very excited to talk about it this year because Sage won the #1 spot on the PPAI Online 18. So we thought it would be a good idea to kind of talk to the team behind that. So today, joined by Anne-Marie, and we're going to have some bonus episodes that come out where I'm going to talk to LaFonso Brown, our video producer, because the quality of our content and our video content was one of the reasons why we won the award. So today's live episode will come out on anywhere you get your podcast sometime in a couple of weeks. So head to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, and subscribe to catch this if you want to see it again, and then to see the bonus episodes that we're going to do with LaFonso. But to kick us off today, Anne-Marie, first of all, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about your background?
Yay, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be back. I'm thankful that you allowed me to be back a year later. So, like you said, my name's Anne-Marie, and I went to Texas Tech, Rackham. I got a degree in advertising, and during the time I was supposed to graduate, COVID hit. And what do we all do in COVID? We go online. And I ended up freelancing during my last year in college, and I did a little bit of product photography. I did a little bit of website design. And then I started managing local businesses' social media accounts. I was actually a florist during school. And so I started managing our flower shop's social media page. And then it kind of just grew from there, and I was just freelancing, and then I never stopped. And now I went on and made a whole W-2 out of it. So,
well, and you
and here I am.
You and I have worked together for a few years, both here and at our previous job, and I've seen kind of your social media strategy evolve over that time. You know, one of the things that PPAI credits us for, and it was one of the reasons why we won the #1 spot, is they were talking about the value that we provide to our followers and how we engage them with a good mix of content. Everything from education to announcements, all kinds of stuff. Is that just kind of happenstance, or is that mix of content part of the strategy?
It definitely is on purpose. So we and in building a strategy, I will say starting with goals is the best place to begin. So when we at Sage were discussing our goals for social media, for that platform itself, we wanted to provide high quality and engaging content. We wanted to build a community online by, still staying on brand with who Sage is. And also we just wanted to support our customers by showcasing new features. Maybe that's like doing our Sage hack, our how-to videos, or just, updating them as new releases come out. So then we kind of just narrowed that down to 4 buckets of content, or 4 pillars, if you will. So we label those cultivation, celebration, education, and innovation. So that kind of keeps us on track to really think about, okay, is this content that we're posting, does it fall in either of these buckets? And that's just a good kind of guiding post for what we should be posting. And it keeps me from going rogue and posting something random. And it also helps us stay along the lines of our community guidelines and our brand guidelines.
Well, and I think that consistency, it really comes across, and it helps consistency in terms of how often we're posting, but also inconsistency in what we're posting. It's not the same thing one after another, so the followers aren't getting a super homogenized view of it. But with those different kinds of content, we also post on multiple social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. Do you post specific contents on specific platforms or for specific audience? Tell us a little bit about that strategy.
We do, and it's all kind of just studying what performs well, whether you have a third-party scheduling or like some way that you're pulling your analytics, or just inside the app internally itself, you can look at some of the data. So what your followers are responding to, and then adjusting it from there. So we might take the same message. I'll take promo perspectives, for example, in promoting that. We want them to register for the next webinar. We want to inform them about the topics, both past and present and future. But you don't want to do it the same way across all platforms because our followers don't really receive that well. So with LinkedIn, we might write up a post and share a direct link, and it's a little bit more, B2B. Whereas Instagram, it's a fun little hype video reel, inviting people out, very casual, kind of more face-to-face. So we try to just take the same message, tweak it a little bit, whether it's delivered in a different media, like a different way, a video versus text versus a carousel. And we kind of just diversify in that way.
Well, and you talk about you have the point that you're getting across, and obviously we have, with everything we post, there's going to be a goal, and this is going to be the case for our audience as well. Like everything you post needs to have an intention in terms of what story are you trying to tell and what result do you want your followers to take when they see that, which is really the same with any marketing. But kind of going back to the differences between platforms, it's going to be different the kind of action that an audience member can take based on where they're looking at things, right? Like you mentioned, clickable CTAs on LinkedIn, and that's not really as easy to do on, say, Instagram, right?
Right, totally.
Like you always see, you got to click the link in the bio, so there's a few more steps there, so you got to make the content itself a little more engaging. So I'm sure a question that our audience is going to have, and actually before I move on to that, audience, thank you so much for joining us live on Zoom. Like I said, we do some of these episodes live so that you can come and interact with us. So if you've got questions about your social media strategy, about Sage's social media strategy, throw those in there. I'll be taking a look throughout, and if we can come up with an answer for you, we will. But I'm sure a question that a lot of the audience has is, how often should I even be posting? And how often on what platforms? When should those posts go out? Is there a one-size-fits-all answer to that, or just a general guideline of how to get started?
Boy, I wish that there was a one type answer for that, because I feel like that is the biggest question, is like, just tell me straight, how much of a time commitment is this? How many posts should I be doing? What time should I be doing them? And we still ask ourselves that literally every day. So I won't tell you an exact frequency to be posting. I think that that's going to be determined by your bandwidth as a company, as an individual, as a brand. So what bandwidth do you have? Then from there, as long as you decide what your frequency is, just be consistent with that. So whether you think that you can keep up 5 posts a week, which is actually a lot, because social media will repeat your content and it kind of will just keep popping up, floating up on your followers' feed. So if you think you can commit to 5 times a week, do that and do it well, and focus on the consistency. If you want to just do 2 quality posts every week, then do that as well. So we try to do 2 to 3 posts a week of high quality stuff, intermittently sharing on our stories, reposting stuff from our partners and things like that. We also do a lot with like our suppliers, and anything that's happening, we like to keep it social.
We just had a question come in. Somebody asked, how can vendors use different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram? Are those sites just for distributors? No, right? Like even if you are so our distributors are going to be more B2C, right? And there's some B2B in there, like you're selling to businesses, but you are working with the end users. But vendors, suppliers, I would say on that case, probably LinkedIn might be the most valuable platform, because you're building some of those more direct business-to-business connections. But something like Instagram, that's going to be more for building your brand. So on Instagram, even if you're a vendor, you should be taking really great quality photos and videos of your products, sharing those there regularly. Have some strategy, post frequently. But if you build up a brand and people see your products, even if they're not a distributor, if your followers are end users and they start to see all of this great stuff you're posting, when they're working with a distributor, they're going to be like, hey, I've seen this awesome brand on Instagram. Can I get their products with my branded logo on them? But I think that would be a great way to, even if as a vendor, to use social media. What are your thoughts on that, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's such a good point. Just kind of using it as an asset and just like a big networking platform, because that's kind of what this all is. And it's just a way to connect. And so I agree. I totally agree with that.
And another question that just came in too was specific to the promotional products industry. What should they be posting? Should it be product centric, or should it be seasonal, occasional oriented messaging? What would your answer to that be?
I personally think both. If it aligns with your brand and what you're wanting your followers to know about you or to know about your product, I think honestly it was you, Gabe, put together a content calendar for different holidays and tied products that go into that and kind of match that. So if you are wanting to give someone an idea, Mother's Day is around the corner and you want to put together a little post about some products that are more, towards that way, then by all means do that. And it's seasonal and it's also product driven. But I am totally for diversifying the type of content that you put out there. And I think that you should do both, honestly.
Can't keep, we've actually getting some really great questions, so I'm going to keep going with this too.
Okay.
Carol was asking,
are there any compliments on my houseplants in the chat?
I don't know if anybody has compliments on her houseplants. Go ahead and throw those in. She's zooming in from the jungles of Fort Worth today. Carol was asking how distributors feel about suppliers showcasing their products on social media. I have to be honest, I'm not sure if there's any kind of negative feeling about that. I can't imagine that there would be. Now, if you're talking about showing a distributor-specific product, as in like a logo that they paid you as a supplier or as a decorator to put on there, I'd talk to them about it, and probably they're going to be into it because it's good social media content for them, and that's an opportunity for you to tag them, and then you get both of those audiences working together. Because that is another big part of a social media strategy, is not just the content that you can create and that you can post, but working with others in the industry, be them, customers and businesses that you're working with, or thought leaders in the industry that are sharing stories and case studies. Share these things, comment on these things, tag each other. All you can do is get a snowball rolling to really go off of each other's audiences, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like social media went from being show and tell platform of look at me, this is what I have, to now it's like create and connect. And in ways you can go and do like event collaborations or, really tap into UGC, like user generated content. People tend to trust an individual a little bit more over a huge company. So you see, it's like a live review basically. So if you can partner with other people in our industry and showcase that in a way and just kind of get more people involved, I feel like that's like right on the money.
Somebody asked a question about, do we have any general guidelines for showcasing a faceless and solution-based social media post without showcasing the product? I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean by that, but I'm just based on what I think, an example I'll take here is Sage. We don't sell physical products here, right? Like, we're in the promo industry, but we're neither a supplier nor a distributor. So we don't have apparel, we don't have hats that we are posting. We might share that from other people in the industry, but our sense, most of our posts tend to be, like she said, our buckets are a lot of educational pieces, teaching you more about the industry, more about how to grow your business, thought pieces. Or when we do show our product is software, right? So that creates a whole other challenge. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have some bonus episodes come out where we're going to sit down with our video producer, LaFonso. And those are going to be really great if you want some advice on how to create good-looking content with photos and videos. And if you are showing a product, that's a little easier in a sense because it's there in front of you. And even if you have an iPhone camera, you can get really, really high-quality stuff from that. In fact, I I switched to iPhone because in a previous job, Anne-Marie bullied me about trying to take social media pictures with an Android. But we're a software company, so when we want to show our product on social media, that involves a whole other kind of video production with motion graphics and screen recordings. And if you think about that, the way it sounds like it might be a little boring, just a static image of a screen. But high quality production of that kind of thing with really cool motion graphics and stuff, you can tell an awesome story about a solution or about a software or whatever you're trying to sell. There are all kinds of ways to do that. And LaFonso and I will talk a little bit more about that in our episodes, about when you have your message, how do you create a narrative around it and deliver that impactfully. By the way, Anne-Marie, we are getting a lot of love for your houseplants. Somebody asked if those are elephant ear ferns.
Yes, this one is actually.
And I don't actually want you to answer this, but they did ask if you have any tips on being a green thumb. Tell you what, maybe look up Anne-Marie on social media, hit her up about that later.
Yeah, exactly. Just message me on the side. Sage chat me.
So, something we kind of started to, I kind of dove into there too, is the stuff we post to Sage is different than something a distributor is going to post, and it's something different than a supplier or a decorator is going to post. But a lot of these principles apply across the board. So can you, just to kind of give people some ideas here, dive into a little bit more specifically in your work history, some of the different industries you've worked in and how the industry changed your content approach?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, I started off with very local small businesses. One of them was a flower shop. And so, what do I post about? Flowers and making people's day and all of that fun stuff. And then I went a little bit more into some nonprofits. So, that was pretty easy for me. I had a pretty clear vision with their mission statement on what they wanted to display to their social media followers. Then I kind of got a little bit more involved into the hospitality industry. And again, I love traveling. So I basically just was like, how can I, as a traveler, approach this social media strategy? So I started doing like, here are some spots to eat around the area that you're staying in. And here's the calendar of events that's going to be happening if you're staying with us in June. And so then I went to the entertainment industry, and all of this is kind of building on top of each other. So I took a little bit of small town, flower shop. Both my parents were entrepreneurs, so I feel like I've constantly been advertising for a family owned business like my whole life. So I took a little bit of that, built on top of it, added in some guidelines that, each company has, a little bit of brand colors here and there. And then Gabe and I worked at a concert venue in Dallas in the entertainment industry. So then it switched to promoting concerts. And then it switched to promoting multiple types of concerts. So we would be, not just, and this is where Sage and the entertainment industry kind of coincides, is like, I'm not just giving content to suppliers. I'm not just doing content for distributors. It's both coexisting in the same. And same with concerts. Like, we were not just advertising to, rock and roll. We were advertising to the rock and roll and the metals and all the stuff. So it's all about kind of putting on your hat and seeing what it is that you want your followers to take away from the type of posts that you're making. And what's the message at the end of the day that you want to translate to them? So if it's like a funny, trendy reel, it's just like, hey, we're a human behind the brand. This is what we want you to take away from this. Maybe get a little bit of humor out of it. Maybe it's some relatability. If it's like our how-to videos, our Sage hacks, it's just like, I want you to be informed. I want you to know Sage is here for you guys. We get that we're always releasing new things. That's part of our innovation pillar. We're releasing new things, and we want you guys to be informed, and we want you guys to know how to use the product. And so, yeah, it's definitely evolved over time, and I'm constantly still learning. I'm always on LinkedIn reading social articles of ways that we can improve. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about the history of everything that I've dabbled in.
And we had a couple of questions come in there. One of which you kind of answered, which is, how does a small business model affect your social media strategy? And somebody else, they asked, what are some great posting strategies for the industry that would be unique apart from other industry approaches? And it's kind of what you just touched on there. every industry and every business is going to be unique. The general strategy remains the same, which is come up with, like we talked about posting frequency. No, there's not one answer to that, but there is an answer to what you're going to decide to do. So let's back up and let's take this from the ideation of a social media strategy. So there are a lot of great tools out there. I know we use SEMrush here at Sage. We used to use something called Buffer at another company. And Meta, the people that make Facebook and Instagram, they have native tools. And what these things allow you to do is to schedule your posts and your stories ahead of time. And in all of these tools, they typically have some analytics features that will tell you, hey, your page does the best when you post this many times per week. And your audience tends to be online at these times. So take a look at that data and decide, okay, well, in that case, I'm going to post 5 times a week on LinkedIn, 3 times a week on Instagram, and 2 times a week on Facebook. And that's just a total random example. That's not the actual advice. But the advice is to look at that, come up with a strategy, and stick to it. If you decide that that's your number, do that. Do it for 3 months. Do it for a quarter. And then go back into these softwares, pull your analytics, see what kind of engagement are you getting? How many people are viewing? There's a stat called impressions. That's just how many people even looked at the post. Look at your engagement. That's how many people left a comment or clicked share or liked it. Look at these things and put them in a spreadsheet and build out charts, because then once you start to see, okay, I did this strategy for 3 months and every month impressions went generally upwards, or maybe if they stayed the same or went downwards, then you need to know, okay, am I posting too much? Am I not posting enough? So come up with a plan, stick to it, measure it, and then decide how you're going to change that plan. Now, as far as is it going to be different industry to industry, all of that's going to be the same. It's what you're posting that's going to be a little different, even if it's just the tone. Like, Emery said we used to work at a concert venue, so we could be maybe a little sillier, a little less suit and tie professional than you might need to be in this industry. We would film silly reels and TikToks that were hopping on whatever the latest trend was. Like, I remember always laughing because I would come into the office and her and the other social media person would be scrolling on TikTok, and they're working. They're doing their job. They're seeing what jokes and what memes are currently hopping off on TikTok, and then we would adapt that to our concert venue or the restaurant that was attached to it, and we would film those and we would post them. Obviously, I think in the promotional products industry, especially here at Sage, where we're definitely on the professional business services side, we're not quite doing the memes quite so much. We're more on the educational side of things, but we still do put out entertainment content, just in a different format. So this has been one of the most fun things we've worked on recently. When we won, I say won, it wasn't really a competition. When we got the number 1 spot on the PPAI Online 18, we got to do a social media takeover, and we filmed a Hot Ones spoof. And if you're not familiar, Hot Ones is this show where you interview guests and they eat spicy wings. And we were able to get pretty humorous with that. And Anne-Marie, I think that might be a little different than what we usually post, but it had a space in our platform, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're providing value, but it was just in a funny way. And we got to eat some wings and talk to Colette from PPAI. And we just talked strategy, kind of what we're doing today, but food was involved. And also my taste buds got completely burned off my tongue. But any way that so at the end of the day, I want to provide value for you guys. I'm going to post, tips and tricks. I could do it in a graphic with text on the screen that's kind of boring, or we could have a little bit more fun with it and do a video. And I don't want anybody to feel intimidated by not having a LaFonso or a huge video production team. If you have an iPhone, sorry, Android users, I'm just kidding. If you have a smartphone nowadays or a camera of some sorts, you can be your own production team. And that's the beautiful thing about social media. This is what I love so much about it is yes, high quality performs so well, but a lot of times the green screen of you, a little talking head video performs amazing as well. Or, something that you film selfie style. It kind of all is relevant and there's all a space for it. I saw someone in the chat said, posting just a product as a distributor is easy, right? And how can you spice it up? I would definitely lean into the short video form. I would, take your product out into the wild, put it in its natural habitat. If you're doing a cup, maybe you make a smoothie or an iced coffee in that cup and film that, and you're still showcasing your amazing product, but in a way that it would be used. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. Just kind of try to take it off the shelf, take it off of the white background, and go put it to use and show people the quality of your product.
I think to expand on that too is like, because that's a great tip for really spicing up that post that is just the product post. But spice up your social media feed overall. Add more variety of posts. Don't make every single post about your products. You need to build brand authority for people to even want to buy your product, even if you have the best product out there. And the way you do that is in between these posts of the product, find or write articles about, say you sell environmentally friendly cups. There are great articles and resources out there about the impact on the planet based on certain kinds of cups, or trends about if you have certain color schemes, or it's a seasonal post. Pantone releases articles about colors and the science behind them that are actually interesting. Find and share things that aren't just the same kind of post, so that way when somebody's going through and they get your feed, you're gonna stick in their mind a whole lot more. There's a stat that I came across when researching for an earlier episode that really sticks with me, which is that 95% of people that see any post you make, at the time they see that post, they are not looking to buy your product right now. They might be later, but right now, they're just on social media. Your job is to build brand authority in their head so that when they move into the market, you're the first person they think of, they follow you, and they've seen your products, and they reach out to you. Let me scroll, see some of these questions here too, please. So somebody asked, it's their first time being in a social media position. First of all, welcome to the industry. It is fun. Yeah. It is it's crazy how fast it's growing, and it's a very valuable skill to have. Just participate and look at other people. So if you're a distributor, look up some of the biggest distributors. Head to the PPAI Online 18 article and see what distributors made the list. See why they made the list. Because that's the thing about that article. It's not just a ranking. It says, for Sage, we made the list because of our content mix, the value we provide, and the high quality of our video production. Other people made the list because of the unique way that they share stories. Look at why people in your space are succeeding and try to find ways to emulate them. Isabel, she asked, do we have a brand style guide? Anne-Marie, do we?
We do, actually. Our amazing designers created it. And again, if you do not have designers that are creating it for you, go to my handy dandy tool, Canva. You can kind of just create your own brand style guide. It's literally 20 minutes of your day sitting down. What are your colors? You can drop those in. And then you can use that from here on out. You could just save it as kind of like a template, and you can use those colors, the same font, keep it consistent. If one day you're posting a lime green graphic, like super energy charged with like black lightning bolts going down it, and then the next day you're posting like this tan, beige, organic, like soft cursive writing, no one in their right mind is going to ever connect those two dots of those two being the same brand or the same person. So it might be relevant to that post that day, but is it relevant overall to who you are as a brand, distributor, supplier, whoever? So we do have brand color scheme that we stick to. We have fonts that we stick to, and size guides are provided to us by whatever platform we're posting on. And you could just Google like Instagram post size. Instagram just changed their ratio. So you can stay up to date by Google.
All right, y'all. Well, this 30 minutes has absolutely blown past. Like everything we talk about, it's hard to cover everything in 30 minutes. So if you have more questions, look us up on social media. We're happy to engage with you guys. I think the key takeaways here are: come up with a strategy. Don't make it random. Use the resources you have, the software tools you have to see what's been successful so far. Pick what you're going to do. Stick to that plan for a period of time. Measure the results, and then iterate on that plan. And besides that, just get creative. Try to stand out in the space. Anne Marie already just talked about a great tool, Canva, for if you don't have a full team of graphic designers. That's great. Next couple of episodes, like I said, we're going to sit down with LaFonso, because one of the reasons that we got rated so highly is our incredibly high quality video content. And not everybody has all the resources that we do to produce that, but I promise you, you do have the resources to make really good video content, and we're going to share some of the strategies for that. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you listen to your shows, and we'll put those out soon. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and thank you, Anne Marie, for sharing such wonderful insights.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.